Hello, everyone. It's Deb Floros, guest designer for Rings and Things. I've got 4 spring colors of 2-hole lentil beads. These are checkmates, they're glass, and they are so incredibly beautiful. I love the colors, the flamingo pink, the olive green, the baby blue, and the pearl. Oh my gosh, they are so beautiful. And I'm going to be combining them with some Miyuki Delicas, some 11Os, and this amazing little magnetic clasp in white plated. And I'm just going to do a very simple needle and thread project. This is a really simple one. I'm going to be using Wildfire and I'm going to be using a size 11 needle. So I'm going to first of all press down at the end of my Wildfire, and I'm going to get it very close to my fingertips, and I'm going to needle the thread, not thread the needle. And I'm going to pull my thread down tight. And then I'm going to start with 5 of the Miyuki Delicas. So I'm just going to directly put them onto my needle, and then I'm going to take the very first lentil bead and put that onto the needle thereafter. Then the pattern from here on out is going to be 2 of the seed beads, then the next color of lentil, 2 of the seed beads, the next color of lentil, 2 seed beads, and then the next color of lentil. And that's going to be our pattern for the first pass of this bracelet. Now we're going to be using about a wingspan of thread. I neglected to mention that in the beginning, but we'll be using about a wingspan of thread, and that's what our pattern looks like. And we'll be doing 1 pass of the desired length that you need for a bracelet. My bracelets are usually between 6.5 and 7 inches. And every time I make one, I'm always checking for length, because the size of a bead can vary the size of your bracelet, even if you measure it. So I'm going to be checking throughout the course of creating this project to make sure that I make it the length that I want to. So I'm just doing all 4 colors alternating with those seed beads in between. They look so beautiful, and you don't need to be worried about which hole you're going through for the lentils, because at this stage of the game, it's all the same. They will hang the correct way when you're stringing them on. And so I'm just making sure there's my ruler. I've got a little bit of a ways to go. And here I'm just about right to take my next step. And it's about 9 sections of all 4 colors with the seed beads in between for me. Then I'm going to put on 5 of the seed beads at the other end. So this will complete our first strand, so to speak, because we've got 2 holes. We've got to go back down through the beads, but we're going to be adding them as we go, because we need to add the seed beads in between the second hole on our 2-hole beads. So you're going to pull that little set of 5 beads back down through your first bead, but through that second hole. Then start adding 2 seed beads, going down the next bead, add 2 seed beads, go down the next bead. And you're just creating the same exact pattern, but this time all you're doing is adding the 2 seed beads in between each of your 2-hole beads. And that will just require you to make sure that you're going through the right part of the bracelet. You're not getting your thread tangled up. Just take it easy and go slow. If you've not really worked with needle and thread before and seed beads and 2-hole beads, this is a very easy project, but it does take a little bit of concentration and taking it easy so that everything goes right and goes into the right places. So I like to kind of check in as I go along, and I do pull those 2 threads apart from each other. That helps to get the beads to situate themselves and not get, kind of kinked up or anything like that. So I'm just going through, and adding those beads as you go along. Unfortunately, there's not an easy way to do multiple beads at once here, because you've got to go through one that's already on the thread and add a couple as you go along. But just a project for maybe listening to some music or listening to a book on tape or something like that. So you can just go ahead and string those beads on. And I'm just always checking my pattern, checking to make sure everything's straight, checking to make sure I didn't miss a bead along the way. That's going to become more critical once we start going back through the whole bracelet. And I like to lay it down flat, just double check everything and making sure that my thread isn't getting kinked up. I am using a bead stopper at one end just to hold on to that thread, but you won't need that for very long at this stage. So once you get to the other end, you've got those 5 seed beads you started with. And what you'll want to do is take your needle and go back through them. So you've already got a piece of thread there. Don't worry about it. It's hanging down with that bead stopper on it. And you're going to put your needle through and you're going to go back down that first 2-hole bead. And I've got my other thread kind of in the way, so I positioned that back behind me, kind of behind my hand. And there I'm creating a loop at that end. You'll see you've got a little loop. And then I'm just going to go back through and reinforce this piece. So I want to go all the way back up to the other end and all the way back down again. And what's important here is making sure that you go through every bead. I have done bracelets like this before and missed a bead here or there, and it just doesn't make your project look that great. So I'm just being very careful of always being aware where my needle is coming from. So you can pull your piece apart a little bit and see where that thread is coming from, and then go up through the next beads and just move that piece around as much as you need to make sure that you're not missing a bead. Skipping a bead just makes your piece look a little wonky here or there. You can do other passes to try and correct it, but it's just better if you make sure you get through all of the beads as you go. So I'm just going through every bead, and when I get up to that top loop, I'm going through the first 2 beads, then I'm going through the center bead, and then down through the other 2. For some reason, that just seems to position that loop very nicely up top of your first 2-hole bead. Then I'm going around, and then when I get to the end, I'm just going to go through my my thread path and create a knot. And I'm going to then create another knot with the other side of my tail. So you'll have 2 tails. And then I'm going to attach my magnetic clasp with some 4mm jump rings. And those actually are perfect to go over the little loop of seed beads at each end and the loop at the end of your magnetic clasp. And so I'm just using chain nose pliers and flat nose pliers to attach on both ends. And then I'm testing to make sure it fits right and everything works good. Oh, I love how this came out. I think I want to add one more little touch, and that's a tiny little butterfly charm. So I'm thinking of this for a Mother's Day gift, and I love this little butterfly charm. It's a sterling silver butterfly. It's tiny, tiny, tiny. And I'm going to use a 4mm jump ring, and I'm going to go over to one of the spaces in between the 2-hole beads and attach it there. I love this piece. It's so much fun to make. You can find everything to make this fun bracelet at ringsandthings.com. Thank you so much for watching.